your battle, right? So if you think that way, you're gonna start thinking about everything. Let the word watch be your word that you do everything that you do. I mean, like we on social media, you gotta watch everything that you spelling. If I got a space, if I gotta go back 100 times and get it right, I'm gonna get it, because you only give us so many chances. And brand is over a long period of time. And one of the things a brand talks about is consistency. Is that right? You gotta be consistency. You gotta know. You gotta define your brand. You gotta. Also, I think we try to define our brand all the time by ourselves, and we don't ask the consumer, right? Somebody said we have to survey people to find out, what do you do? You know, what do they like? Why is your customer coming to you? One of my mentors used to always say this. 25 years ago, I met him, and he was so right. He said, selling is a weight gain. It happens in the mind of the prospect and not in your mind. But what we do, I like this, so my customer's gonna like that. So I think we need to take in data. I think we need to survey. I think we need to consistently analyze things that we do. Just because we did something every day, you know, doesn't mean you're at the level where you should be. So branding is over a long period of time, and I believe that everything you say, everything you do, you know, everything is brand. You're speaking, you're saying something, but it's over a long period of time. You be conscious of it. And you know, we into branding. I love AI too, but guess what? We need to have our own. Even you need to look at AI and examine that, right? Because it may not be what's correct for your brand, but I do look at it, and sometimes they come up with a little different way of saying something I would say it, and I look at it, I analyze it, and I take it and say, you know what, could I do better, or should I incorporate that? Now, there's also a concept of on the internet too. When you use AI, you could be infringing on something, or you could be telling people something falsely, right? The machine can't do that. They can't analyze whether you trying to tell somebody something that they shouldn't do that's not good. So I think we need to kind of like look at that, study all the books on branding. What's the guy named Fubu? He wrote a great book, For Us By Us. There's tons of material out there about branding, and you should read it, because it really does work. But over a period of time, you got to really define what does branding mean for your particular business.
And so to expand on that, I think the biggest problem is a lot of entrepreneurs and also companies, they confuse branding with marketing. And there is a big difference. You know, branding is you. Your marketing is your product or your services. So it's how you present it is what is going to get the most attention. So therefore, if you are starting up your business, you know, you're an entrepreneur just starting out, creating a logo, okay, that's part of your branding, because that's going to be part of you. So therefore, you must know the difference between the two. And when you're also branding, you need to be able to tell someone in a few minutes what your company or your service or your product is about. If it's going to take you about a half an hour to explain that this is what we do, somewhere down the line within 15 or 20 minutes, you've lost that person's attention. So therefore, as he was saying, you study what you want to do. So if I know I want to create the best pair of sneakers in the world, then I'm going to see what's out there already in order for mine to be different. So you must have an entrepreneur mind or a mindset. You need to separate between the two, because starting a business is not an easy thing. It's not, and especially if you work in a 9-to-5 job and you're starting a business, or you're in school and starting a business. There is a difference. However, if it's well thought out, and that's where your branding is going to come in at, and then you put the branding and marketing together, then you have a fresh start. Now, there are some schools, which I just found out recently, have a program where students in high school and middle school can start out in something called virtual enterprise. They learn all the aspects of how to start a business. So yes, when it comes to education, it's very important, because I have a degree and I went through an entrepreneur class my master's is in entrepreneurship. All right, so I was able to do the marketing side, the sales side, all aspects of the business, because when you're starting out, it's only you. Therefore, when you begin to start thinking about expanding, how can you hire somebody if you don't know what they're supposed to be doing? Or how can you even think about putting your product or service out there on the market if you don't know all aspects of it? So therefore, if I'm going to, let's say, make a product, I need to know everything there is about that product. You know, I need to know the texture, the material. I need to know if it's going to sell. So therefore, marketing, when I think of marketing, I'm thinking in terms of who am I gonna market to? Who's gonna be my target market? So therefore, when you think of branding and marketing, they go together, but they're also separate. You know, so there's branding you, there's branding your service or your product. So you need to know the difference between the two. And then there's also something called marketing a product. All right, so like you said, on the internet, there is so much that you can read, you can do YouTube videos, there's a lot. So if you are thinking of starting a business, or if you're in a business, or even thinking of taking some of the classes, it's very important that you give it 100%. Because people can see when you have a passion for something. If you don't have that passion, why should I buy from you? If you don't have the passion, you know, so if you can't tell me why I need to spend $300 for a Louis Vuitton handbag or that little purse, if you can't tell me why I need to spend that as opposed to buying a Coach or a Fendi, then I'm not gonna pay for it. Not that I'm gonna buy it anyway, but, you know, but in terms of thinking of what makes it different, what makes it better than the next. And that's what you need to think in terms of when you start talking about marketing your products or branding your products, is that you've got to have the passion and the love for it. Because if not, it's not gonna work.
And I just got one final comment. People buy you, enthusiasm that emanate in you and through you. Because if we do things, everything that we do and say can impact our business, right? If your tire's crooked, right? If you're doing something wrong, people are gonna see it. The other thing, the best thing that I've ever heard is your business can only grow beyond you. And that means somebody was talking about education, right? So we gotta continually be educated. We gotta, because there's a law that you're only gonna reach a certain level if you don't keep growing, right? So you gotta look at things differently, like innovation. Like how many people study innovation, right? Right, you either innovate or die. That's a fact, right? So the more you begin to say, you know what, every day I gotta learn something. And the only way you're gonna learn something is through the law of observation, paying attention to what's happening around you and in your business. But remember that your business, as you continually to grow, you have to grow as a human being for your business to grow. Otherwise, you're gonna have a limit on your business.
Bill, can I ask you a quick question? What's your thoughts on bringing consultants to help you define your brand? Because I think that's, like you said, right? We're trying to do everything ourselves. But sometimes it's important to bring in an outside point of view to kind of understand your brand. What's your thoughts on that?
I think you should, because sometimes, like you said, we could be stubborn, you know, and we could think we're doing the right thing and we're not. And it's always good to have another opinion. And people are, I mean, I don't know if anybody knows the McKinsey way. Anybody ever heard of it? I study that. I want to know, because think about it, right? When you're in your business, sometimes you think you're doing something, but you're not really solving your real problem. So the McKinsey way teaches you to really analyze, all right, what's the problem? Even a business, you must be solving something for your customer, right? Maybe they need a warm hat, maybe they need a sweater, maybe they need shoes. So what are you really doing in your business? And that's really, I think every business should study the McKinsey way so they can get to the root of the problem of why their customers are buying.
So in other words, before you create a product or service, you need to think in terms of what pain you're solving. Is anybody going to need this, or do they really need this? Is there something already out there on the market for this? But it always goes back to what pain are you solving or going to solve for a particular person as to why they want to come to you and buy what you have.
And also the marketing, like you said, your marketing, like she was saying, people want to be associated with Louis Vuitton because there's a reason why.
Yes.
You know, or Ralph Lauren.
Status.
You know, they gave it a lot of thought.
Yes.
What people are buying when they selling what they sell.
Yes, it's a status quo. Yes.
How about the idea, I remember someone a long time ago said that sometimes you create a need in someone that suddenly they see something like that. And he told me that that's why when you're getting out in a supermarket, you have all of the stuff there and suddenly you cannot live without it. What are your thoughts about you creating? And I'm thinking about that.
Okay.
Well, you know, there's an older saying, you're very close to the old saying, find a need and fill it. Now, I'll give you an example. You know, when we used to use oil, right, for our houses, right, it was in such a demand that people could not get the oil filled, right? So what they started to do, move over to gas, right? So finding a need and filling it is still a true axiom. If you find a need, people need something, they're gonna do what?
They
Buy it.
buy it, right.
Find a need and fill it.
But they first have to have the need, you know, so, it's like with the cell phones, you know, give that for example, the difference between an Android and an iPhone. When they first came out, there was a huge difference. Now, if Android wants to compete with the iPhone, they have to offer some of the same things on there. So whether that be scanning something in a QR code, a lot of Androids, the old Androids, they just scan QR codes.
And this thing changed everything. I don't think y'all know how much it changed it, you know.
So-
I was like, man, I'm standing on the supermarket, I could send somebody an invoice and they can send me money. So this changed a lot of things. It allowed us to work in all type of situations.
Right.
Some of us is working like 12 o'clock at night while we laying down. But What?
Yeah, but like he said, it's all about solving a pain and providing a need for something. So anytime you see a product out there in the market or somebody's offering a service, then that's because they see that there's a need for it. And to get back to your point with the consulting, I tell everyone, and I was at a function last night, and I said to them, everyone needs a mentor. Whether you believe it or not, I don't care how long you've been in business, you need a coach, you need a mentor. Because your point of view might not be getting your business down the road like it should be. So if you share that with someone else, like a coach or a mentor, then they might see something that's blocking your growth. So therefore, I always tell people, you need one, whether you think you do or not, you need one. Because the fact that if you've been in business for 5 years and you still haven't reached that level that you set for yourself, there's a reason. So take self out of the way, which is hard to do in most cases, and get yourself a mentor or a coach. And the other thing, the problem that we have is that we don't value. Like a lot of people say, I don't need a coach or a mentor because they don't want to pay the money. So they don't see the value in having another pair of eyes or value somebody's opinion as to what they're doing. So that's the big take of if you're in business or you're starting a business, you need somebody else to look over what you're doing. You know, we asked a question recently, when is the last time you looked at your business plan? You created it 20 years ago. Things have changed. So when is the last time you look at it? They don't. You know, I just yesterday I was telling someone, had they heard of a business model canvas? And he said, what's that? And I said, oh, okay. They never heard of it. And I said, you know, it only has 8 sections to it. 8 little parts to it. And I said, and it breaks everything down for you. It's just like a business plan, except that it's a quick snapshot of what you should be doing. And they were like, wow, tell me more. I said, well, you gotta call me. So let me give you my card, because you need to call me in order for us to have this conversation. Because for me to explain it to you in 10 minutes By the time you walk out the door, I walk out the door, it's gone. But if I can show you what it's about compared to a business plan, then you would understand it better how it fit into your business. I even had someone tell me, I can't use that because it has nothing to do with my business. And this is someone that wants to start a business. And I said to her, okay, no problem. I took all sections and I broke it down for her. And then she came back to me an hour later and said, okay, you're right, now I can use it. And then the best example I can give you is, or ask a question. What do you think Kellogg's cereals, General Mills, what do you think they do when they introduce a new cereal on the market? What do you think they do? What do you think they use to determine geographic location, target market, where their beginning should be? So what do you think they do when they introduce a new cereal? And what happens after the introduction? And 6 months later, it's off the shelf. So that's the example that I give people is, think about the larger corporations. Watch what they do, and you can learn from them just by watching. If they market a product, and in 6 months it's gone, then I know it wasn't selling. So they're not gonna waste their money to put it in, to introduce it in another state or another market. And that's what you have to think in terms of when you're thinking of being in business.
And just one final thing, get in the way of learning, whether that's in the academic, taking a course, whether it's the Small Business Administration, you got the SBDCs and the colleges, you got the Entrepreneurial Assistance Centers. You have to take time away from your business, right? Because sometimes you just, what do we say, doing it and doing it and doing it, and you may not be doing the right thing. And you need somebody like Lewis said to look over. Your taxpayer money pays for a lot of things in universities all across the country. We just had the state director that's in charge of all 22 SBDCs. There's so much resources out here, but you gotta put in the effort, right? You gotta put in the effort. You gotta seek out things. Don't just keep doing what you're doing and it's not working.
All right, well, thank you so much.